idea is to encourage good behavior among road users, especially among PSV operators. And why PSV operators? There is evidence that actually a lot of the road accidents we have in this country is amongst PSV operators. So that is why we are focusing on the PSV operators. If we are able to change behavior of most road users, and not just the drivers, but generally road users, including pedestrians and commuters, we would actually make quite a big impact in terms of reducing the levels of road carnage that we have in this country. So what are we looking at doing with the Isuzu PSV Awards? We are looking at identifying and recognizing good road users because they are there. I think there's always that thing about enforcement, where what you do is you look for people who are committing offenses on the road with a view to arresting them and then punishing them. Yesterday, I think I was driving along some road, Mombasa Road, at some point, a traffic police officer was parked quite far away, and I asked myself, he's waiting for people to actually break the law by overlapping, then you get arrested, instead of being at the point where people are likely to overlap, so that they don't overlap. So that tendency, the thought process in this country about how we deal with the mistakes that happen on the road is always about punishment. But it is possible that actually by changing behavior, you can actually have a major impact. It will take time, granted, but that is what we are setting out to do. So we will be identifying and recognizing good road behavior. We will reward and encourage safe behavior by PSV operators. And then we want to create a conversation about the PSV industry, and especially in terms of good behavior and the use of roads. Now, that conversation is important because most of the time, what happens is everybody in their vehicles will say, Matatu drivers are bad, or this and that about PSV operators. But nobody ever really sits down and asks, why are they behaving this way? Is there a good reason why this happens? Long-term objectives. I think there's also a lot of a need in this country to talk for a long time about good road use. That's how you change behavior. So changing behavior will not take, as I said, 1 week or 2 weeks. If we will have done these awards for, say, 20 years, which is possible, the banking awards that we've been running for the last 15 years, and we've also been running insurance awards for 13 years. So it is possible to actually run this kind of award for eternity and be able to measure every year what impact you're making. Now, I'll say a little about being able to measure the impact. It is possible to measure the impact of this kind of project in terms of what it is having. Is it changing behavior amongst road users? It is possible by looking at the number of accidents that are occurring on the roads and also conducting a survey, because you cannot ask drivers or road users what their thoughts are or how they're behaving over a period of time, and be able to measure if there has actually been a change as a result of initiatives like this. Because this is not an initiative that will be done only, say, by Think Business and Isuzu East Africa. We are having NTSA involved in this project. We are also looking out for other partners. I've seen there's somebody from Total. We are looking at the oil industry. And we are looking at so many other players, the insurance industry, for example, which probably is one of the biggest losers, because of the high levels of road carnage that we have in this country. So yes, partnerships will be welcome. We'll be looking at long-term, this project as a long-term project, and encouraging all of you to support it. Now, I said we need to have engagements also about good road use and behavior of the road users. And that's where the thought leadership issue comes in. Because if you are able, all of you remember, for example, when I would say the late Michuki was a minister for transport. And in a short time, as a result of that leadership, we saw some change. I've seen Matatus now that carry more than 14 people when they should actually be carrying just that number. The seat belts are no longer in use. But this is about leadership. Somebody who says, this is what we need to do. But leadership is not about an individual. We need to have everybody thinking along the same lines, from the road users, from that person who is in a Matatu that is overspeeding and is doing nothing until the accident happened, and then you hear people saying the driver was overspeeding. The same person is hurt, was in that vehicle when the driver was overspeeding, but he's only able to say after it has happened. So I think leadership, looking at it from not just the perspective of whoever is in charge of transport, say at the government level, but even at the individual level in terms of the road users themselves or the drivers, but generally anybody who actually stands to benefit from this.
This is the inaugural, or rather the first PSV Awards to be done in Kenya. In as much as we are doing it currently at the metropolis of Nairobi, we are seeing ourselves, we envision ourselves that in the near future, we are going to have it nationally, possibly, probably in the next 1 year or so. Globally, for some of you who may not know, we are losing 1.2 persons are lost every year globally due to this particular problem. We have 1.24 million. That's a huge number. And as we speak currently, road traffic crash remains one of the biggest causes of fatalities globally. Way far more than malaria, way far more than HIV, way far more than tuberculosis. So that tells you that the burden of the problem, the magnitude of the problem is so huge that it deserves the attention other programs or other programs have. And the cause of disability or injuries for that matter is also equally massive, running into millions, over 20 million. And from economic point of view, we are talking about more than 5% of GDP is lost, say in Kenya. That's a huge big figure, running into billions of dollars. So we need to do something about that. But on top of that, definitely there are other causes, the psychological trauma, the families, the society, the community, amongst others. So we are here to pool our resources to ensure that this particular burden is reduced and if not eliminated in the near future. So as part and parcel of this, that's why we have this PSV Awards. But as I said, the behavior is a very critical aspect. And for us in the road safety is that we need to ensure that that behavioral aspect is going to. And one of the ways which we are looking as NTSA is that we are going to do some massive education campaigns across the country. You may know that one of our responsibilities as per the Act is the aspect to do with public awareness. So that is one of the ways we're going. But further still, that the relationship between that behavior and this particular program today is that we need to encourage and promote good behavior. And one of the ways of encouraging and promoting and rewarding rather good behavior is this aspect of awards, whereby different categories get rewarded for their good role, get recognized, and in as much as the recognition is that little, we feel that it goes all the way to promote that good behavior. Thanks to the inaugural Isuzu PSV Awards, which we're going to have it this particular year. So as we further deliberate this, we support, as I said before, we support this because of the current approach we are doing as NTSA. We work with our partners in the police who will be doing enforcement, but from ourselves, from NTSA, we'll be doing more of behavioral change, communication, and public awareness program across the board. And some of the things we'll be doing further to promote good behavior is supporting, promoting, and being part and parcel of such programs like this one, the Isuzu East Africa inaugural PSV Awards.
This idea was mooted by us, all of us here, stakeholders, to see how best we can contribute our resources, not more to enforce compliance. You know, compliance is short-term. Behavior change is difficult, and it's long-term. So we have put ourselves up here as a company because 95% of the PSV that ply in the city of Nairobi are Isuzu vehicles. So it is our responsibility, our great responsibility to partner with all of you here to ensure that we take this conversation to the next level. And a lot of work has been done by NTSA, from formation of the SACCOs that have done a great job in terms of enforcing service, enforcing safety, and all that. So a lot of work has been done in the last 10 years in this space. NTSA is able today to tell us exactly where are the hotspots, where are the accidents happening, what time they happen, Friday evening, more people lose their lives and all that. So we know we have now data that we can use to support our activities around safety. So we are not groping in the dark. We have very, very important information that we can use to deploy our resources so that we can continue to save lives of our people. And the key team here we are looking to award for good behavior is the PSV sector. And I want to encourage PSV sector members to actively participate in this program, because when they stand out, when they change behavior, they are beneficial to them as businesses. One, we can negotiate better insurance premium for them, they can get better financing from the banks, and they can carry more people, because people use their personal vehicle for fear of safety. If we improve on our safety, then we'll have more Kenyans, we'll attract more people to take public transportation, therefore growing this business. So there is value. The fundamental one is saving lives. That is the goal. But there are the secondary benefits of actually applying and participating in this program so that we can change behavior. And when we're having this conversation does not only affect PSV operators, it affects pedestrians, it affects people who are using border. It affects even national dialogue as far as our country policies around what Kibogong and team are going to deploy as a result of the feedback that we will continue to get as we engage. So whatever we will get will also inform policy going forward in this particular sector. So it's a very, very important program. And actually today we want more participants. Let's consolidate our money for those other guys who are here from Total, from the trust and all that, so that we can enrich this particular program and get more value. Because if we can just change behavior of one group of our road users, we would have achieved so much. And we think PSV is the captive one group that we can work together to support. So mine here is to let's engage on this conversation. It has great benefit. These numbers we are seeing here are numbers of those people who died. We have not even looked at the economic loss to families, to those people who are maimed by accidents, that lose their limbs, they lose their spine. The social impact of not having a conversation on this subject is too much severe for us as responsible Kenyans to ignore. So please, first as a Kenyan, let's work together to ensure that we change the behavior of our people.
One of the beautiful things about having NTSA involved in this is because now by law, all PSV operators are required to be registered with NTSA. And this is not just the SACCOs, there are SACCOs and there are also other private entities, let me say companies, that actually operate in the PSV sector. So that is the first eligibility criteria, is that you must be registered. You must be registered by NTSA as an operator. And then the other thing that Duncan mentioned is that we are starting off with Nairobi Metropolis. So those who are eligible actually are the operators within the Nairobi Metropolis. So apart from being registered by NTSA, the other key thing that we'll be looking at is compliance. Are you compliant with NTSA requirements? And that is critical. Now the other thing is that for any award you're going to be looking at a certain period of time. So we are going back into 18 months. 18 months we'll be looking at, for example, what's your record in terms of performance or compliance over the last 18 months. So it doesn't mean that if you wake up today and you're compliant today, then you actually do start a chance. But anyway, each category has its own requirements. Now, the judging criteria that we're using is actually quite diverse. Part of it, as I've mentioned, is data from NTSA based on the records that they keep and the filings that they make in terms of your compliance, and also your track record in terms of, say, for example, accidents and so on. Now, the other criteria that we're going to use, the other judging criteria we're going to use is research. We're going to do some market research, and this involves actually people getting into Matatus and just behaving as normal passengers, but basically looking at what is going on in the Matatu. How are the customers, let's call them customers, commuters being treated in the Matatu? Is it clean? So those are going to be some of the criteria that we'll be using.
We are so thankful to Isuzu, because to create a mind like this one is not something small. At least we may think deep, because it's not all the stakeholders can think about Matatu. That's a forgotten industry. And if you can see, Matatu is the biggest employer in the country. Now, as we are speaking currently, if insurance could have done something like this, watu wa miguu pia wafanye yao, Isuzu wafanye yao, I think we could have been very far. Hata hizi ma-accident na hizi vitu ndogo ndogo, petty crimes, nadhani zingekuwa zime-reduce from left, right and center. Lakini since everybody assumes Matatu, they are forgetting Matatu is the running economy. So we are so grateful for people who have organized for this event. At least to think, not just it kwa nimesema kitambo tu, tumejiorganizia yetu inaitwa Matatu Nganya, Matatu Golore. So we were confused. Lakini at the end of the day tumekuja nimepata the main people, Isuzu East Africa, wamejitolea wakasema, we are with you guys. We can't move without you guys. So we really appreciate for that. Now, we as association, we have 165 circles behind us. And we are fully supporting you guys from Isuzu, because you have been with us, I think, for the last, I can say more than 40 years or 30 years with us. Na sasa hivi yenye tunatishiwa usiku na mchana, tunaambiwa mambo ya BRT, mambo ya sijui magari refu refu. So tuko nauliza hata serikali juzi, sasa hizi zetu tutapeleka wapi? Juu mmesema mnataka kuleta hizi magari refu refu, na hizi zetu ndogo ndogo zitaenda wapi? Mko mmesema mta face out Nissans, niko nazo. Mta face out 33 seaters, mlete hizi gari refu refu. Na nikijaribu kuenda, we are business people, tulienda kuuliza, okay, what is the insurance of this vehicle? Unapata ni triple of the 33 seater. What is the return? Gross inachapa 24,000. Maximum kisha chapa 33 seater, gross ni 24,000. Hii gross ni 21,000. Insurance is damn expensive. Kupark ni shida. Kuosha, it's expensive. So, I think tuliambia the government, before mfanye vitu, we need to consult. Not just jump. Last time, we jumped for cashless system. Na ilikuwa, tumesema hata, with or without us, the cashless system will come to Kenyan system. With or without Isuzu, with or without the chairman, will come one day. Tuko na watoto wa bright wale wako chini na wanafikiria about the technology every time and then.
We know that public transport in this country facilitates economic activities. It's a given fact that without public transport, the government might not be able to collect its revenues or its taxes because there wouldn't be anybody working. Over 90% of Kenyans rely on public transport for movement. And I would want to say, Rita, let's keep it up, because when you pat somebody's shoulders, they'll do it better. And unfortunately, this industry has been subjected to a lot of abuse. And at one time, somebody was asking me, what are you doing here? This is not where you belong. But I stuck and decided to be there and be called names. Every time they say, how are watu wa Matatu? Watu wa Matatu. It's like we come from the moon or from other planets. But all in all is not lost. I'm sure where their wrongs can be rectified. There is no static position by wrongdoing or in wrongdoing. And so I want to say it's good gesture by Isuzu to at least appreciate those who are involved in the activities. And of course, your customers. Investors in public transport have suffered tremendously by losses. It's a business where everybody says that, people outside think that there's a lot of money. If Rita was to give you a tabulation on maybe the price and what you get and try to do the mathematics, it will always go to negative. Today in Kenya, you go to Isuzu, get a chassis, build it, then go for the license. Unlike other countries where you ask for a license first, then you will be allocated a route where you can fly when there is chance, whether there is demand for that. So I believe, Kibogong, you please, from the regulator point, there must be that study. A research must be done. You must have a department that does research. And on issues of safety, we know very well there's been big blame on public transport. But statistics show that there was a big improvement, tremendous improvement, because there was education by NTSA and those who had invested, sensitizing the operators, those who are behind the wheels, to do what is right. And unfortunately, when a public transport crashes, it's normally in full capacity to the capacity. So there are many injuries. But if we were to go to individual vehicles, we know very well that there are others who are leading. And, but that we don't want blame games. We would want to make our roads safe for everybody to travel in. And by encouraging, and we know that a very big percentage, over 80% of crashes on our roads can be avoided. They are due to, I would say, neglect from the person who is in control. And it can be rectified. So for this particular day, I want to say, Rita, I'm sure when somebody knows that I'm going to collect points and I'll be awarded by the end of the time, everybody will be careful. Everybody will want to be recognized by either being awarded or even being patted on the shoulders. And I think it's high time that we provided proper things like training to sensitize them. Let's encourage these people to move from the world they are in to a better world. So I think I'll end there. Thank you very much, Isuzu, and we hope this can be an annual event, or even if it is twice or 3 times a year, we'll encourage other organizations to come in when somebody knows that it will make a difference.
We used to organize a similar event, which we used to call Motor Garan Road Safety Awards, which we did stop in 2015. A number of issues were raised concerning the awards, and I think basically I needed to mention this. Number one, we were partnering with the NTSA maybe to give us the best circles, and then people went into questioning, one, when NTSA are giving you the best circle, what criteria were they using? So I'm mentioning this so that maybe we can try and avoid those kind of questions. Then we awarded a certain bus company, and then the press, members of the press were asking, how did you reach out at this kind of bus? And yet you remember there was a very serious accident concerning this bus. So there are a number of challenges that we'll go through, and each process will have its own challenges. But I want to encourage you, because we have auditors in it. We didn't have auditors in it. So because we have auditors in it, we have a research team in it, I know it is going to be a success. And I want to encourage you to continue, to encourage Isuzu to continue with this project. To me, it is a project that changes somehow, even if we are not able to measure to what extent, but at least it changes the behavior of these people.
We all agree that we need to go ahead with this program because it will help us as a country to progress from one state to another state. When BRT comes to be, it's gonna be world class. what you see in London and what you see in these other countries. It doesn't matter what we do, we will get to there. But we want to get there when behavior on the road is good. So how do we prepare ourselves to get to the next mode of transport that is desirable, that is safe, and exactly what Isuzu is trying to do is to start that positive conversation to get there. But we cannot do it alone. We need each and every stakeholder in this room to come in and say, I'm stepping in, I am going to support. You've seen the number of awards, instant award. This guy was not, number nine was not doing that. He's a great guy. He behaved much better. We want to give him an instant award. Is that award from Namata? Namata is the next kid on the block as far as our transportation is concerned. Are you going to help us sponsor that? This is what we want here, right? Trust. What are you going to do to take this program? Total. Yes, you know you're doing a lot of projects, a lot of programs. This is in line with your company strategy. How are you plugging in? We want Matatu. We cannot do this and, Chief, you are not part of it because you want good behavior. Good behavior, we said, better insurance. You complained about insurance. If the industry is perceived to be risky, then we are not going to get better insurance premium. So we are asking, we have put up our hand. We think all of us in this room have a role to play in ensuring we have safe roads in our country. How are you plugging in? We want to have that conversation on how do you support. We've shared the criteria. Thank you very much in terms of enriching this criteria, looking at the risk of these awards to make sure whoever we pick is well deserved to take the prize. In this PSV Awards, how can all of us as stakeholder contribute time, resources to enrich? How do we create awareness so that members of the industry can participate? Because we want members to participate. As I think business have said, if there is no participation, then there will be no award. So we want people to actively, circles to actively participate in this program so that we can have an award at the end of it all. But for us to be able to create that awareness and to engage with them, we need all your support, all your resources deployed. And we'll be talking to you individually to make sure we harness your time and also your resources to enrich this program. I think in principle, we've all agreed we need it.
This is a business. So they are looking at it from that perspective. Now, I think if you're able to change the behavior of road users, including those in the PSV sector, the one clear thing is, there is of course the benefit of winning a Matatu worth quite an amount of money, so your fleet grows, but that's not all. You ultimately, as Matatu operators, are actually looking at your customers coming in and then paying for the service that you offer. I think for me as a passenger, I would be happy to walk into a Matatu that I know are theirs to the rules that need to be adhered to in terms of safety, even cleanliness, and so many things. I think this is a win-win situation for everybody. So in terms of partnerships, the reason we need the support of the industry is precisely for that. It is good for the Matatu industry. It is good for our economy. I mean, there is no loser in this. All those commuters who use your services also stand to benefit. So I think the clear issue about who the winner is, there's no doubt about who the winners are. Now, partnerships. And I think this was mentioned also by Rita. And what we have actually done today is basically one phase of what we have been doing and what we actually are working on now. We didn't talk a lot about partnerships here, but we actually have created different categories of partnerships. All the awards that we have done previously have always been self-sustaining and supported by the industry. That's the only way you will make this kind of thing run for the next 20 years or even longer, for eternity. So this is supposed to be a self-sustaining process, and that is what we are focused on. And the only way to do that is get all the stakeholders involved, the likes of Namata and everything, And so partnerships, we will be discussing this at a different forum, probably similar to this, I think next week. And what we're doing is we're talking to the likes of Total, the likes of Safaricom, and so many other people who would support this initiative. And we are confident, actually, that we're going to get the support of quite a number of them, including some insurance companies. So this is a win-win situation for everybody, so we expect everybody to get involved. Now, about the award categories, and as Rita pointed out, there is something that, a saying that I like, that it says, don't just sit there, do something. I think that's what we are doing. We got to get moving on something. My experience is, the first is always the hardest to do because everybody is waiting to see what happens. And there are all sorts of excuses as to why you should not do it. And even when you get it done, people are going to be asking you, why did you do it this way? Why did you choose that way? And why did you choose so and so? The thing is simple. How you handle that is very simple. Just make sure you have all your information. If a Matatu causes an accident, before even after, that's not the end of the road. We are not saying that the winners are going to be 100% saints. They are not saints. No. This is a business. Things will go wrong. The issue is, have you corrected them? So even if a Matatu did have an accident many years ago, what has changed over that period of time? So really the key thing is in keeping those records, and we will actually have the entries available to anybody who wants to look at them, to scrutinize them. And we will be able to prove to somebody that this is how the scoring was done. These are the points they won as compared to so and so and so and so. So really, let me say, whatever you're going to do is going to be above board. I think the other issue that I sort of alluded to, but was mentioned by my friend from Aki, was the issue of NTSA and the role that NTSA plays in this, in terms of compliance. I think one of the key things about this process is that the NTSA compliance is not the only parameter we are looking at in terms of who the winners are. NTSA will give us their score based on certain ratings that we are looking for. And on the basis of that, it's not like you are either in or out. We are looking at what is the rating. We are trying to encourage Matatus as a business. If you're not complying today, or maybe you're not 100% compliant, but you need to do one or two things, we'll basically rate you according to that score. So it doesn't mean that if a Matatu is not 100% compliant, then it is not there. And I think I've spoken with Dr. Kibogong and their compliance people. And the key thing is, what they really do is a rating. I think they even ask you, Matatu operators, what is your own rating of yourself? So it's not that NTSA does not like so and so and so, so and so will not win. No, they actually will not have a say over who wins. If you notice, those parameters have so many other things that we are looking for. And those are some of the very key things. Yeah. Now, other award categories, my friend from Namata spoke about things like climate change and so on. In fact, as he was speaking, I got to and also spoke about Matatu terminals. And I actually thought one of the categories maybe we should have had is something like best Matatu terminals in Nairobi. Because you can actually assess which is the best in terms of the cleanliness, the safety, and all the things that anybody who walks into a Matatu terminals to board a Matatu with would want, yeah? Is it easy to find where you're going and so on? So all those things that it is possible to actually measure them and come up with which is the best. But I think the key thing that I'm trying to make with this point is that this is just the beginning of the awards. There will be many more categories going forward, and we want you to propose some of those categories that we need to have. In fact, from next year. For the Matatu Awards, I think we have 9 awards this year, plus the Instant Award. That is nothing compared, say, with what we have for banking, which is about 30 different categories. For the Matatu industry, we probably could get even to that level, if not even more. What I'm saying is, we want you to tell us what more you want us to measure. Because the more we measure those specific things, the higher the chance that we're going to get people to improve in them. Yeah? We could even have one for, as I've said, for the Matatu terminals, or even bodybuilding. Yeah? You mentioned something about the standards that are required in terms of bodybuilding, and that could be something that we could look at. I know I read somewhere not too long ago that I think Isuzu or whoever, I think it was Isuzu, that now have a different structure, body structure that is supposed to be safe and so on. So there are all these things that we can be looking at. The thing is, it needs to come from you. We will accept all proposals that come from you and look through them and make sure that if they are viable, we will do them. So over to you, The challenge is on you. We will be very welcoming as Think Business and NTSA and Isuzu East Africa to make sure that this truly reflects what you as stakeholders really think and feel. And we must not be afraid of being criticized. So if somebody is going to wake up tomorrow and say that company that won bribed so and so, that will not stop us. If somebody will come and say, but they had an accident 10 years ago, I think we must focus on the main objective, and it is behavior change, and that you can only achieve over a period of time. Thank you very much.